Hey folks, a little update to my battle so far. I won't go into too much depth with this rules-wise. I think I'll save that for a separate video. It just got to take too long. Maybe I'll make an observation video or something after this one. We'll see. But as far as the progress of this battle, I have not yet finished turn 1. I haven't had a lot of time to play. And, I'm lucky if I can get in one activation with a division in one go. But I have gotten pretty much well along. I've only got one counter left in the cup here, and Hill is done for the turn, as is, I believe, Augur for the Union. He's done his 2 activations. He only had 2. And currently I'm in Yule's activation, his final activation for the turn. He has 3. The last one in this cup, I believe, is right here, William's division. He had 3 as well, and he's already done 2. And a little quick overview of what's going on. If you look at the right flank here, we didn't have any close combat, no shock combats, I should call it. But you can see a lot has gone on. It's a little muddled here. We've got 2 rebel brigades engaged. If you remember, they were previously like in a horseshoe, and the Union was kind of sticking out a little bit here. The Union has somewhat been pushed back. Basically, it came from this direction. Pender's brigade, which is quite strong, did really help out this situation. Thomas, a little bit weak, if you remember. He didn't have a lot of strength here with manpower, so he needed the support, and he got it. And this Union brigade, which is Crawford's brigade, was pushed back, and they did take some damage. He's got 2 regiments stacked here. One is disordered, but both have taken at least 1 hit to their strength. So some setback for the Union, but they're still holding this position. This unit as well is disordered and also taken a strength point hit. Again, that's from Crawford's brigade. This unit here is also part of Crawford's brigade, and it's still standing pretty strong, holding its ground. Thomas has fallen back. He's got 4 regiments in all, here, 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 and here, underneath his command counter, as you can see. He has taken some hits here. This unit underneath him actually rallied. So there was some rallying going on. So it's really a back and forth situation at the moment. It looks a little bit muddled. Thomas has kind of fallen back. He's taken a lot of damage. Pender is saving the day, supporting Thomas and pushing the Union back somewhat. The Union did commit another brigade here. I believe it's Gordon, who's the 2nd Brigade of Williams' division. He committed him, come off the hill a little bit, and moved in this direction to support Crawford over here on the right. So it kind of stabilized the situation. So it's basically back and forth over here. We'll see what happens in the next turn, I think. Pretty even Steven. The center is what it is. Both sides are hanging back still. And over here on the left, I finally got to some close combat, or some shock combat. Basically, Trimble's brigade did actually move in, and he close assaulted, or shocked. I gotta remember to use that word. Shock. He did shock combat the 2 disordered regiments of Union troops here from this brigade. A 3rd Union regiment got involved, and the result of that is that the Union is falling back. He's got a stack here of 2 regiments, both disordered, and have taken, that one right there took 3 strength hits. It's only got 6. And so did the other regiment underneath it, another 3. And it has 6. So they're at half strength. 1 more strength point loss on either of these 2 units will cause it to be collapsed. And effectively, for this scenario, that takes it out of the battle. And I should point out, go back over here, there is 1 unit right here from Gordon's brigade that is already collapsed. And there he is. He only had 4 strength points. He's disordered currently, and he's taken 3 hits. And when you're collapsed, the only way you can effectively get back in the battle is if you're put in reserve during the night and dusk turns of a battle. He recuperates some of his lost strength points. Never his full, but it can get him out of this state of being collapsed. But effectively, he's out of combat. If he takes another strength point loss, he's pretty much going to be done. He'll be routed from the tabletop. I think that is a die roll to determine if he's routed. I don't remember. I will get to that part when I get there. But like I said, I did have some shock combat over here. It's very enjoyable. It's very tactical. For instance, when you move adjacent, and by the way, I did change Trimble's orders from advanced to attack, allowing him to get adjacent to these units and thus shock combat. I did learn a few things, like for instance, if your brigadier is not with any of the units in his brigade that are in shock, they will be penalized as a die roll modifier in the resolution of the melees. So it's good to have your brigadier actually leading one of the regiments in the melee. I learned that. I also learned that you're considered a charging unit if you don't shoot prior to resolving the shock. So if you move adjacent and actually take the time to shoot prior to shock combat, you're not considered charging. And charging is beneficial when you're resolving the shock combat. So I learned that as well. Something else interesting is that when you shock combat an opponent, they have a chance of shooting at you, with a pre-shock combat shooting. I forget what it's called. And that can be quite deadly. In fact, one aspect to this game I'm finding really interesting is the fact that whenever you shoot at an enemy unit, a lot of the time, not always, a lot of the time that unit will fire back on you, and they're pretty much full effect fire. It's called return fire. There's also withdrawal fire, pre-shock combat fire. It's reaction fire. So you got to take that into account when you're doing this. I mean, you just don't, I'm in range, let's fire this unit on the enemy. Yeah, you're basically enticing him to shoot back at you at the same time. Or after you. It all depends. Like for instance, over here, this unit, as you will see, is standing strong, and he's taken 1 strength point hit. He's a very small unit. He's only 3 in strength points, actually 2 at the moment. He's taken a loss. And I'm adjacent to this Union unit, which is a strength 10. I opted not to shoot with this guy. I also opted not to make a withdrawal movement. Withdrawal movement can cause him to reaction fire and fire on me. His fire would be devastating. The maximum strength points you can use from a single hex is 7 in this case for the infantry. I still don't want to face that. Considering I'm only 2 strength points, it would probably wipe me out if I tried to withdraw from here or if I fired on him, because I think this guy was able to reaction fire, so he'd be able to fire at the same time. And there's limitations and rules on that reaction fire that I'm not going to get into, but effectively that's what was going to happen here. So I opted to do nothing. This unit is basically sitting there saying, hey, we're here. You want some of us, you got to come to us. And that's the situation. So he's doing his duty of kind of slowing up the Union advance here. The Union has to take care of this unit to go any further here. When you move adjacent to an enemy unit, your movement is basically done. So that was the whole point to him sitting here and not shooting, not basically doing anything, risking destruction or retreating from the position entirely. So they're holding their position, letting the Union come to them. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah, there we go. I'm currently in Yule's turn. I'm going to finish that up. He's got 2 more brigades to take action with. These guys did their shock combat and movement, so they're done. I just have these 2 brigades left to do. And probably what's going to happen is I might use Forno's brigade to close assault here with them, these lead ones anyway, and really put pressure on this brigade. I mean, it's almost at a point where it's going to be combat ineffective, which can happen to brigades when basically the majority of their units are routed or disordered, retreated. I'll look up the specifics to that and get into that in the next video. But put pressure on him. That's what I'm looking at. But he'll probably keep Early's brigade in reserve yet. Don't want to commit in the center just yet. I'll wait till we weaken these flanks and see what happens. But it's a really fun game. I'm having a blast. So stay tuned, folks. I'll post another video, perhaps talking about my observations on the game so far. I don't want to get into it too deep with this video. I'm learning the game. It's the first time I've ever played this series. Making a few mistakes here and there. It's a grand game. Really enjoying it so far. Stay tuned, folks, and I'll be posting more. Leave me some comments and feedback if you like this sort of thing and want to see more. If you have any questions about the game, highly recommend the game. Any of the series of great battles of the American Civil War. Stay tuned, folks. Hang in there. It's only going to get better. See you soon.